Your father's mother, your grandmother, Leonetta Merlino,
Yes.
is in the floral dress.
Yes, I recognize her.
Looking very lovely. And she was born in 1902 in a place called Black Diamond, Washington.
Right.
What was she like? What can you tell me about Grandma?
She was spectacular. In a word, she was at the same time nurturing and all over you, and yet also it was great to go to her house. There was she was a huge collector of knick-knacky, junky stuff, and all kinds of things around, as well as photos and memorabilia from the family. But if there was one thing that everyone would remember on all of the cousins, we grew up, all of us knowing each other and spending a lot of time, her ravioli were amongst the greatest single things that were ever experienced in our lives. And she had a count, and it's legendary among my entire family. You got, and I'm not sure, I don't remember the number anymore, it was either 8, 9, or 11. And that was all you got. And it seemed so unusual that she would have a count, but every time she served them, there was an exact number.
What's so amazing about a ravioli?
It's easy to say. What was so amazing about a Madeleine de Proust, right? 1,000 things. You taste this. It had calf's brains, Swiss chard, and sausage in it. And it was served in some kind of a tomato sauce, sometimes with oxtails. And when our neighborhood friends in Washington State would come over and hear what we were having, they thought we were the weirdest people in the world, because they were still buying they were at that point buying sliced turkey and putting it on white bread. So that Grandma would come over and create these meals is amongst the most intense memories I have of all family memories.
Did she have anything to do with you becoming a great chef?
I would say that perhaps my first true inspiration and understanding the joy of the table was at the table at her house. So yes, I mean, that reinforced, I mean, keep in mind, when I became a chef in the early 80s when I graduated college, and I wasn't really a chef, I was a cook at that point, but at that point, cooking still wasn't hip. So cooking was kind of the last thing you did when you got out of the military before you went to jail. Because it was the lowest common denominator job. Everybody could peel potatoes. So it wasn't hip yet. As it just turns out that my passion, and as I was going to college, I worked in this pizzeria called Stuff Your Face in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And I became addicted to this whole restaurant movement. There's this kind of rush of adrenaline when you go into a dinner service and serve all these people, and then it starts kind of slow and then builds to a crescendo and then slows back down. Just that physical component of the job was something that fascinated me. So having that passion for the food and seeing that it was actually a commercial entity in college is what drove me to be that. And I was always interested in cooking, but when my parents said, listen, instead of going to college, what do you think about going to cooking school? I'm like, cooking school? Mom, that ain't right.
Your parents said that?
Oh yeah, even then. Even when I was 17, they're like, maybe you should explore this. And I'm like, you know, I'd rather go to college. I had seen the frat movie with John Belushi, and I wanted to go experience American college. And I'm glad I did, because in all honesty, I would say if you want to become something really good, go get a liberal arts education and then figure out what you want to do. If you want to be the best welder or a pilot or whatever it is in the physical world, you also need to have your brain together with you, so that worked out really well.
When was your first cooking experience? At home? And with whom?
With my family. I mean, whether making breakfast on the weekends with Dad or baking with my mom or we were very involved in food all the time. You know, our family makes something called antipasto. At the end of the summer, you go to the Lower Valley Market in eastern Washington State and buy all these vegetables, and then you bring them home and everyone peels the little baby onions or cuts the little mushrooms. Everyone had a job. And then we'd can it all with like tomato sauce and tuna and make this kind of jarred dip, I guess. You put it on crackers or bread. And that memory of eating that and making that is part of the most visceral things that I have in my mind.
So if you had to select one familial influence, one member of your family,
it would be Grandma Batali.
Grandma?
No question about it.
And you actually cooked with her?
Yeah, well, we were always in the kitchen. I mean, that was where we lived. It wasn't, our kitchens were always the hubbub. They were the main center of the activity. And then the dining room was kind of right next to it. It was never like, we didn't have servants, we didn't have staff. We had us and we'd put the food on, then we'd eat it.
Well, they had servants, Mario. It was called you.
Yeah, well, exactly. I was just an unpaid busboy.